Welcome to the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. I'm Spencer, and I'm one of your hosts on this podcast that we do, and it is a joy to be here. And today, I'm joined by the other two members of the League of Melanated Gentlemen who have come here today for a special episode.
Yes, sir. This is Brandon.
And of course, I am Jordan.
Oh, but wait! There's more. And not just more, but more that warrants a proper introduction, someone with credentials. So I'm gonna pass it over to Jordan, so that we can make sure that you are properly introduced.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one for us. I want to introduce the world because we are worldwide. I want to introduce the world to Rod. He is an author of the book. Uh, was it Arsenal book one, right?
Flick Attack
Flick
movie.
Attack movie Arsenal book one. He's a reviewer for more than 30 years. He was a manager, or you still currently a manager of the editorial. At one point, he was editorial of the Oklahoma Gazette, which, here in Oklahoma, that's a big magazine. He's also a comic book writer. I saw you and also an actor as well. So you got a little acting creds, I see. But yeah, Mr. Rod, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Special guest is stretching a little bit, but I'm honored. Thanks, guys.
Jordan, real quick, what do you call a person who writes a book?
I know I said that. I know that's the way I say it. That's my accent. That's an author, just like the character. I know.
All right, I just wanted to check. There are people who say water in Washington. So, adding extra R's, that's a thing that happens with accents. So
that is my Tulsa accent. So yeah, my author.
Or you could say writer.
Yeah, or writer. Yeah, that word is way easier to say writer.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, so here at the League, this will be our first proper interview. I say proper, we'll see what happens. I don't know if that's what it's gonna be. But this is our first time with intent having a guest that we are going to ask questions and just kind of have a discussion, just to get to know you a little better, know your life, know what you do, get your professional opinion on some things, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess without further ado, we will jump straight in. So I know that Jordan went over a few things, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words?
Sure. Yeah, the name of the book is Flick Attack Movie Arsenal, Book One. It is kind of an outgrowth of the website I've run for, I think, 15 years now, called flickattack.com. It's updated almost every day. It's mostly movie reviews, like genre films, so horror, sci-fi, action, comedy, that sort of thing. And I was, not anymore, but in a former life, I was one of the main film critics at Oklahoma Gazette, which was an alt weekly, no longer around. I think it went out of business last year.
Oh, I didn't even know
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Well, it was a weekly publication, and then I think it's last year, it was only digital. It quit printing, and then it just shut down completely. Which is sad, but
yeah,
It's business.
I would say that's the way of so many magazines nowadays.
It is. And then I did used to write comic books. I don't anymore. But again, yeah, in a former life, I did write a bunch of scripts for a series of graphic novels or graphic novel collections, I guess you'd call them. That was called Graphic Classics. And it would like adapt stories from the public domain. So like Edgar Allan Poe, Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy that wrote Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
All the
old
yeah,
stuff from dead people.
yeah, I would say and it's like, oh, didn't Mickey, was that this year? Mickey, not
I
Mickey
think,
Mouse.
Yeah,
Was
Mickey Mouse.
I think Mickey goes into the public domain this year.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Did the original like Steamboat Willie
Yeah.
style. Well, yeah, you could make a movie about him if you wanted to now and not get sued. So
Dang.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not an actor. I do. I mean, I was in some commercials as a kid, but I don't think that counts.
That's child acting.
I do have an IMDb page. I was on a
See?
not a reality show, but a documentary, one of those true crime documentaries. Because I
See
had a
that's an actor. That's more than we got. That's
I don't
more.
think that counts as acting. Uh, yeah. Anyway, so that's me in a nutshell.
So,
uh, I guess let me ask first, what kind of hobbies do you have? Like, besides movies and television, like what other hobbies do you enjoy doing?
Oh man. So if I'm not watching movies, I am reading about movies or writing about movies. Um, I don't read much fiction anymore. I just read about movies and TV and comic books sometimes and popular culture. I just really enjoy learning about things that I don't already know.
Hmm.
There's still a ton to learn after, I mean, I'm 53 years old. I mean, I know a lot from growing up on this stuff, but the access to information now is just so much greater. And
yeah.
people, there's not the barriers, as you guys know. I mean, look, you've got a worldwide show right here. There's not the barriers
Yeah.
anymore that there used to be. So like people can put out a book tomorrow through Amazon and it can be sold all over the world. And, beforehand you had to convince someone to publish it. And so all that
Right.
information that was, you know, staying with somebody who got rejection after rejection after rejection now can put it out there as a book if they don't want to just put it out on the web. So that's usually what I'm doing. I mean, I'm married, got 3 grown kids, but my wife watches movies and TV. She loves them too. So those are really my hobbies. I'm not an outdoor person. I'm not a sports
Nothing wrong with
person.
that.
I watch occasional sports, like Thunder basketball,
Oh yeah.
I would
some
say
football, the Olympics, that type of thing, but I don't
I'm right there with you. It's
yeah.
like I used to be that sports person, and then I had kids, and then it's like, yeah, no, I just can't do it anymore. I find the TV is always on some cartoons nowadays.
Exactly. And with me, it's like, well, there's always a movie to watch, right?
Yeah,
That's
It's
I
true.
could watch, yeah, instead of watching a game, I'd rather watch a movie about a game.
that
Right.
that is also me now. It's like
Yep.
I could be watching sports, or I can do something nerdy. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna do something nerdy.
So usually it's nerdy. I usually like to watch a lot of like I have to, write down 2 lists of like here's the things I want to see and here's the things I know my wife will want to see. So
Uh,
I have to split my duties. Like, I know she's not gonna because I get into these things like right now. I just rewatched Godzilla 1985, which I
Dude,
hadn't
oh
seen
my God. I You just said
that.
Godzilla. I love
Yeah,
Godzilla. Like my
yeah.
wife, you just like woke me up right now. My wife, I will sit there and watch all those old black and white Godzillas and she will hate me for it. But I
Yeah. So,
love
like,
those old Godzillas.
yeah, so I just rewatched Godzilla 1985. So now I'm on a kick to revisit some of those things that I haven't seen in 20 years. And she's not interested in that at all. So that's the kind of thing that I just have to watch on my own.
Now,
So, which is
let,
fine. That's fine.
can I ask
right.
you something right quick?
That's
Because
my hobby.
I had this
Yeah.
conversation today. So let's say you're watching something with your wife. If she falls asleep, now do you stop the show or the movie, or do you continue without her? What do you do?
Well, it depends on what we're watching. So if we're
Mm.
watching like Dateline NBC, and they haven't got to who murdered whoever, I'll pause it, of course. Um, Usually, but yeah, if it's a movie, I don't know. It just kind of depends on the movie. If I could tell she's not really into it, I might
That's
continue. But sometimes she surprises me. She'll give like no indication that she's enjoying it. Like we saw The Fall Guy Sunday at
oh
the
yeah, I heard that was
Okay.
really good. Yeah.
and she had not a peep, and I thought, man, she must be hating this. And afterwards, she's like, I love that. That was so, so good. Like I didn't hear you laugh once. I thought you were asleep at one point, but no. So, I mean, I don't want to get in trouble. So yeah, I usually pause. But
Spencer, what about you?
there are times where I go on. Like if I know she's uh like I'm watching something that I have to review, and she asks about it, but she's not like, oh, I want to see it, but she's in the room and just sits and starts watching. That's a different story. She falls asleep, I'm running through, right?
Yeah.
Because she
That's
didn't
smart.
indicate otherwise that I shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Spencer, what about you? Do you continue watching or do you stop it?
If she falls asleep, no, I'm gonna continue watching. If she
Oh,
if she leaves the room, then I will pause it. Or if she starts talking loud or asking questions, I will pause it. But if she falls asleep, I'm gonna finish
see,
that movie.
I feel bad if it's like a brand new show that we've watched for the first time and I see her fall asleep, I'm gonna pause it. But then if I see her on the phone a couple too many times and then she falls asleep, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna keep going because you seem like you didn't care. So
Yeah,
that's I literally had that conversation today.
now show that we just started, like something like that's different. That's different from a movie
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
can't really
No,
make an
it's the
episode
same.
if it's a series.
If she falls asleep, she fell asleep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But if she leaves the room, I will pause it.
Look, I've already been through one marriage. I'm on my second. I don't need to go on the third, so I'm gonna most likely.
Gotcha. Okay. That's funny. I mean, we want to go ahead and really start the interview, I guess. Or really, those are just my fun questions. Um, okay. My first question is, so how long have you been doing reviews?
Oh man. So like, okay, I guess there's two answers to that question. The first one is since junior high school. Um,
Dang, okay.
like I started reviewing things for the junior high school newspaper and did it in high school and did it through college and did it publications thereafter and have never stopped. Um, the second answer is if there's something that I would not want anyone to read, it would be probably anything before graduating college. Because, you know, like at some point you're just not good. You're just learning your craft and learning how to do it. And I would hate to read the stuff from way back then because it would just make me cringe. I mean, as a writer, you kind of, and um, at my job, I used to manage a bunch of writers and would tell them like, you're never great. Like, I mean, even if you are great, you can still get better. So like the goal is a year from now, you look back on what you write today, and some part of it should make you go, ugh, like why did I write it that way? So yeah, I mean, I still feel that way. Like I feel like I'm just now to a point where I don't have to cringe so much looking a few years back, but decades back, that gets scary. So I really have been doing it since junior high, so that would make me what, 12 or 13? So 40 years,
Oh man.
40 years solid.
Wow.
Like never stopped.
See, this I know we got a professional right there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now for
That's a
there's
while.
the third answer for payment for money starting in college. Everything before that was free.
Do you
Gotcha.
remember what the first like movie was that you like really? So like I guess two answers. So like in high school, like do you remember what the first movie was, and then when you first started getting paid, like do you remember what that movie was?
I don't. I really don't. Like I remember things that I reviewed back then. Like in high school, I remember reviewing Above the Law, which was Steven Seagal's first movie.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar. I feel like I've seen that.
It was his first film, and it was a fairly big hit in theaters, and Pam Grier was the co-star, and Henry Silva, who's been in a lot of Italian cop movies, and it was great. And I gave it a good review, and I was like, I like the Steven Seagal guy. I don't know who he is. I wouldn't say I like him today because he's devolved
Yeah.
into a
I
joke.
I agree with that.
Right.
Yeah, but the first 4 or 5 movies that he did back then, or maybe even six, like he really had something going for a while. Then it all went to his head. But so I remember reviewing that, and then man, in college, I mostly remember it being just not a great time for movies. It was the early 90s, and for whatever reason, um, like just a bunch of forgettable things. Like I remember The Crush, which was like a erotic thriller with Alicia Silverstone.
That's not the surfboard movie, is it?
No, that's Blue Crush.
Oh, Blue Crush.
No, this is like where she's a crazy babysitter sort of thing, like in love with the dad. Uh, it's not a good movie. Like I just remember all these bad movies, and then there was one with Bridget Fonda called Point of No Return, where she's like an assassin, and it was a remake of a French film called La Femme Nikita, which is actually really good, uh,
Hmm.
directed by Luc Besson. But Point of No Return sucked, and I remember doing that. I just remember doing a lot of things that I really didn't like. Um, Basic Instinct, which was kind of fun. I do remember that. I
So
wasn't
I know that
great,
one.
but that
Yeah.
was Michael Douglas, Sharon Stone. That was a huge hit, big controversial because you could, she uncrosses her
Yeah,
legs.
so yeah, I would say she got that famous scene. Yep, the
Yep,
white
Hmm.
dress and sitting in the
yep,
chair.
you know it. Yeah. So those were the kind of things that were out back then. I mean, the movies were way different. I mean, there was just a completely different, like, movies were events every week.
Yeah,
And
that's
now
true.
Yeah.
we're kind of lucky if anything comes out a week worth seeing.
You know,
Right.
that's kind of interesting you say that because like I feel like in the comics that's the same way it was. Like the '90s was like all the trash stuff was end up coming out. Like they were just oversaturation of just everything, and then that's why kind of the '90s was like the dark period for comics, and that's when Marvel started to go under and had to start selling off all these characters. So it's like that's interesting that even on the movie side of things, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah, and I grew up watching or reading comics in the 70s and 80s. I didn't read them in the 90s, but in the early 2000s, I started getting back into them and re and reading some of the big things that like I had missed, like The Sandman and
Mm.
uh,
Yep. That's a big one.
Watchmen.
Yep.
Um, like anything that Neil Gaiman or it's just not man, just
Uh,
the guy who wrote
um,
what Alan Moore.
Alan
Yeah.
Moore, yeah, with the big
Alan
beard.
Yeah.
Moore, and then his run on Swamp Thing, like all
Oh,
that stuff. I
top
loved
tier.
all that stuff. So I was catching up with that, and then getting into some new things at the time, like Fables was a
Which
good
is,
series
I
I liked.
think, I want to say Fables is actually still running because
Yeah,
I
I
see
think
Fables
it
all
is.
the time. I'm like, yo, this has been going for a long time.
Yeah, by Bill Willingham, and I'm trying to remember some of the others. But I got back into the things that I'd missed, and then never really like latched on to much of the new stuff. Like I never got into Spawn, um,
Yeah, the McFarlane,
that
yeah.
image style stuff. I never, for some reason, I don't know if it's the art or the writing or a combination of both. Like I tried them. I tried that. I tried Eric Larson's Savage Dragon.
Oh
Um,
yeah, so you were really there when
yeah.
all the image guys really popped off.
And I just never could get into that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim
So,
Lee and all those guys went over and did all the image stuff. Yeah,
or maybe it's just like that was my age. You know,
Right.
it could be a part where you just grow out of a certain thing, but I mean, I was still in my 30s, I guess, at that point.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I mean, I had fun revisiting and going back and finding stuff that I missed. And I still every now and then I'll read about something and get an itch to try that out, but it's been a while. I haven't in a while.
I find like sometimes I go back and read older comics, and for me, sometimes they're a little bit harder to read for me because like they just put so much words onto it, and sometimes for me it's like the story starts to fall apart. Like I try to go back and read. I was reading some older Moon Knight stuff from the 1980s.
Oh,
I was
yes.
reading that stuff, and for me it's like, oh, they was cramming so much into it. And then I try to go
Mhm.
back and I'm trying to go back and read some of the earlier '80s from X-Men from
Hmm.
what's his name, the biggest X-Men guy.
Chris Claremont?
Yeah, Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to go back and read like some Claremont stuff, but it's just like they crammed so much. But it's like even though that's like the best time period, but it's like for me, it's like they just crammed so much into the small
I
panels. It kind
didn't
of turns me off.
I didn't like the art style in the 90s. I don't know why. Just that art style. I just wasn't the huge like muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. I was just like, I don't know why.
I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like there were a lot of shoulders.
Yeah. A lot of patches. You got a lot of
A
pockets.
lot of pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. Cable had like 95 pockets.
Yeah. Um,
Totally
I do.
with you.
I got a question because this is highly debated on this podcast. So, how do you feel about animation versus live action?
How do I? Well, I mean, I
Do you have a preference?
watch way more live action than I watch animation. I am It's like an art form. I I respect animation. I just don't watch as much of it as I once did. Um, and that's on me. It's not that I dislike it. I can't like I think the last animated show I watched, and I mean, this is might sound old, but it's Brickleberry, which was a short-lived Comedy Central thing.
That
Mhm.
that
That's a
sound
Daniel Tosh.
okay.
Yeah,
I was about to say that sounded real familiar. Yeah, that was Dan Tosh's thing.
think he
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
producer of that or something,
I
or
think he was the
had
bear.
something to do with it. Yeah, I watched it with my youngest son because he was into all that and Bob's Burgers and that style of animation at the time. Like maybe he was a little too young to be watching it, but
We talk about that too all the time. We watch so many movies way too young.
Yeah.
If you need something now, X-Men 97.
yeah. So I've heard like uh, a lot of buzz about that. In
Yeah,
fact, on a
you need
podcast
that.
today on my way home that I was listening to, they were talking about that. I remember seeing a lot of the 90s X-Men cartoon
Hmm.
when the X-Men movies started coming out and they would repackage those on DVD like in themed collections.
Yeah.
They'd put like 3 or 4 episodes out on one disc, and I collected those for a while and watched those and enjoyed them. Did the same for Spider-Man and Hulk
Yeah.
and their other stuff too. But I have not seen X-Men 97. I've heard a ton about it. But yeah, that's not just and that's a Disney Plus thing, right?
Yep.
Because
Right.
I don't have Disney Plus yet.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's the only streaming service that we don't have.
There are too many. So
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we've got Shudder, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Peacock, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of them except Disney Plus.
yeah.
We'll get
That's
there.
that's fair. I
Yeah.
will say if I did not have small kids and if they didn't have
Yeah.
all this Marvel stuff there, I would not have Disney Plus either.
Oh, I guarantee if I had if I was a dad now, well, I am a dad now, but with kids at home, I'm sure we would have Disney Plus. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
gotta have the Star Wars. Gotta have my. Mainly, it's the old stuff too. Like if I want to watch, like you said, Spider-Man animated series, watch
Mm.
that every now and again, or Iron Man series or stuff like that. That's the main reason for it.
Yeah, I never did see the Iron Man series. Saw a lot of the Spider-Man. Like I know which you're probably referring to the 90s one, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. But I also in the 80s there was one that I
The
really
Spider-Man and
liked.
Friends
Yep.
with
Yep.
Yeah.
Firestar and Iceman.
Iceman and Firestar. Is it
Yeah.
Firestar? Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
But the one from the 60s, the original one, that sucks. The one with the meme of the pointing Spider-Man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
That
yeah,
was,
I've only
yeah,
ever
that was
seen a
from the
couple of those.
60s TV series. And all those Marvel things at that time. Like, I mean, I guess at the time when they came out, I wasn't quite born, but they were a big deal because there was nothing like that at the time.
Yeah.
They're hardly animated. They're
like
very, very
they
limited
hadn't
motion.
they hadn't figured out
No,
animating comics yet.
Yeah.
they
It was
didn't.
rough.
They really didn't. But like at the time, like the 70s, the big one that I remember waking up every Saturday morning for was Super Friends, which was,
Yeah.
Also
the
not great.
Justice League with a stupid name. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that show.
Is that the same one with there's like the Wonder Twin powers activate? Is that
Yep.
that one?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
remember as a kid catching like the reruns of that one, of course. I was like, yeah, this ain't that good.
Yep.
It would be on Cartoon Network sometime.
Zan and Jaina, the Wonder Twin.
Yeah.
Wonder
Yeah.
Twin powers activate. Form of would be something water.
Yeah.
A bucket of
Something.
water.
Yeah, it was an animal and a water thing, and and they had the
Yeah.
monkey bleak.
Forgot about that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
rough. That was a
Well,
stupid name.
so about 20 years ago, when like well, maybe longer than that, but when the Batman sequels started coming out and superhero cinema took off, but it was before Marvel started their stuff. Um, the Gaylord Entertainment, as in the Gaylord family that owns the Oklahoman, the newspaper,
Yeah.
they bought the rights to the Wonder Twins to make a movie. They never did, but they were going to make a Wonder Twins live action movie.
Oh
Never,
wow.
but yeah, so that has an Oklahoma connection
Wow.
there.
It's probably a smart business decision not to
Yeah.
pull the trigger on that, but
Yeah, I would have sucked.
Because they may
yeah.
have had something made and then they were like, no,
Yeah.
because it's really
Yeah.
hard to make that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they wouldn't have given it the proper budget to
Absolutely not. Yeah.
anyway. So
That's funny.
it's
I,
probably a bullet dodged.
I
Yeah,
wonder.
back then when the Batman, like the 1989 Tim Burton Batman, when that came out, that was unbelievably just a phenomenon. You could not
Yeah.
escape it. Not that I wanted to. I was so excited for that movie, and I still love it today. But like then all these other studios started throwing things out, and they didn't really. They're just like, oh, here's a comic book, and
Yeah.
it was just something random. And they got to the point where they did Steel with Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
That was
Yeah,
bad. That was bad.
that was. I mean, it has some charms, but
it
it's
does, but
good.
but it's bad.
man,
So
that
bad.
was rough.
Yeah,
No
but it's
Superman appearance either.
anything that was a comic book,
Yeah.
so well, not anything like, but anything that they could get the rights to and make for a certain mid-budget, they would do. And
Yeah.
like the first Marvel movie was actually Howard the Duck.
I seen that one too,
Yep.
and to be honest, when I probably watched it maybe 2008, and I mean it was bad, but I actually didn't really mind it.
No, same, same.
Like,
It's not good. It's pretty goofy. It's nothing like the comics, but it was like, I mean, it flopped hard. It was a notorious flop. But when it came out, it was a big deal because it was the first
Right.
Marvel Comics movie, and it was produced by George Lucas, who basically had not done anything after Star Wars,
Right. That makes sense.
after Jedi. And yeah, so like there was all these expectations for it, even though people really didn't know who Howard the Duck was, outside
Right.
yeah,
comics world. But it was at one point a big deal. And then all that got, put away until Blade came out. That movie kicked ass.
yeah. We talk
No,
we talk we talk about that one. We talk about that one a lot too. That was, I know, at least for us, that was a big deal. Like Blade was a big deal.
I
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah, and I still do. I mean, I love all three of them.
Yeah.
I don't know that
I
that
like
third
Blade
one.
Trinity.
That
I
third
like all
one.
three.
Still
I
love
like
it.
all three.
I still love it, even though I
Blade
mean
Trinity is a good time.
it's not the level of the first movie, but it is fun. And that's
Yeah.
really just, as a reviewer, so like college especially, kind of a snob, like, oh, that's not going to win any awards. But by the time I turned 30, like my whole outlook on life changed. I'd been through like my boss was murdered, and that's why I was on that documentary I was talking about, the true crime documentary. And just, a lot of weird things happened. And um, one of those was like, why am I taking movies so seriously? Like, they don't have to be award winners, just have fun. Like, I just
Right.
want to be entertained, right? It doesn't, even if
Mhm.
it's trash, if it's fun trash, that's cool. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
today that still sticks with me. I watch a lot of things where people are like, why are you even wasting your time on that? And I'm like, well, you never know. Sometimes you find absolute gems from these super obscure things that, maybe read about once, but they never hit theaters here, or maybe they never hit theaters anywhere. But every now and then you come across something that's like a true gem. Uh,
Hmm.
and other times, you're like, boy, that sucked, but I really enjoyed the 80 minutes it took to watch it.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not, I still watch a lot of things that, and have to, for as part of, as part of reviewer, like as the year end comes, it's like, I'm part of the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle, which is a statewide organization where we vote on awards, and they send screeners and things that they want you to
To
vote for.
watch.
We watch all those things and I review some of them, and it's just part of the job. But then you also have, I get sent screeners for these things that might play Harkins Bricktown at downtown Oklahoma City for one weekend, or it might just premiere on VOD.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, those things can be good too. You can't apply the same rules to everything. Like you
Yeah.
can't compare every space movie to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like they're all their own thing. They're not always trying to do the same thing. Some things are trying to copy Star Wars, and those should be judged by that, what they're trying to do, but others are, trying to do their own thing.
Yes.
So,
How do
rules
you
change.
how do you feel about, so since you are kind of a reviewer, it's always interesting to be around, like, was it not is it Oscar time, but like we see like these movies that no one ever heard of, they come through and just clean up the awards.
Yeah.
How do you do you like I always, how does that happen? Like I don't understand how that happens. Like it'll be a movie no one ever heard about, and then it just wins all the awards. I think one of the biggest ones, which it might have been just me, but I remember Moonlight winning like a bunch of
Yeah.
awards, and I was like, I've never heard this movie at that time.
Yeah, that had won Best Picture, and I think it won Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali,
Yeah.
and Screenplay, I think. So it won three. It won Best Picture. That was the big one because La La Land was accidentally.
Yeah, and I
Announced.
had never heard of that or
Yeah.
anything. I'm like, yo, like where do these
Well,
come from?
Moonlight, yeah, so I still haven't seen it,
Me
actually,
neither.
but that
I have.
that is one that really did just fly under the radar. So it happens really on the small scale. Like first, it happens at festivals. Buzz starts building there, and then the Guild Awards, like each state has their own critics organization, like the one I'm in, and the ones like on the coasts and Chicago and Dallas, those are like really big ones. And so as if things start winning there, then they start earning buzz up for like the Golden Globes and the Screen Actors Guild Awards and the Oscars. And so it all bubbles up that way. That's kind of how those things happen. Now in the past, like I just read a book on called Oscar Wars that was a kind of like all these battles for the history of the Academy Awards throughout history. Like it ended with the Will Smith slap of Chris Rock, but
Mm.
one of the chapters was all about buying the win because Harvey Weinstein, um, the guy who used to run Miramax and until he got Me Too'd out of existence.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that he's getting a new trial. But anyway, he famously basically bought the best picture win for Shakespeare in Love the year against Saving Private Ryan, which was Steven Spielberg's Tom Hanks World War II movie that
Yeah,
just even
Amazing.
looked like the thing that should win.
Yeah.
And yeah, he basically bought the vote just by sinking a ton of money into parties and you know like they would go to nursing homes where the oldest Academy members lived and show them a screener of it, but also would like do their laundry,
like butter
like
them up a little
they
bit.
would they do anything for a vote basically.
And
To
that's
the
what I thought it was. I thought they
because-
were just saying instead of spending money on advertising, we'll just pay it to the Academy.
yeah. So
Right.
but what sucks is all the money that he spent for that, he didn't take it from himself. He took it from like the screenwriters and directors and people that had points in the movie, like points
Mm.
to get, like they take a smaller salary up front in hopes that it will be a box office success so they can have a higher percentage of earnings. And he credited all the money for the Oscar campaign against their take home pay essentially. So they didn't get what they were owed from that thing being a massive hit because it made over $1 billion and they didn't get squat basically.
Dang.
So, but hey, he got his Oscar. So
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
he
will.
probably wasn't allowed to take prison, but he got one.
I know. I feel like lately it's changing a little bit. Like with Barbie, like you're seeing more like heavily successful movies get a little more of a Oscar buzz. Like even Marvel movies got. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
A lot, and that's credited mostly to the year that The Dark Knight, made $1 billion and
Yeah,
it wasn't among the 5 for Best Picture, and there was all this uproar over it, and so they expanded the next year. I think it was the next year to, they could be up to 10. In
Mhm.
most years there have been 8 or 9, but every so often they hit 10 like they did this year. And so that allows for Barbie and
Was it Oppenheimer?
well, yeah, but that's one of those like
They did on
That was
purpose.
Oscar bait.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, Oscar. But like Black Panther, in any
right,
other 5 a year thing, that wouldn't be considered important enough, because it's
right,
not about a disease, right? Or
right,
it's not
Yeah.
about Holocaust,
right.
or war. So that, that got in. So yeah, things like that, it's opening that has helped. And also just like because the economics of this industry has changed so much, like they're not making as many Oscar bait movies like they used to. So
Yeah,
now it allows for more of the really low budget things to get in there so that
Yeah.
Jordan, your point about where did this come from? Like there's some that came through that are nominated the past couple years that I'd even never heard of.
yeah,
Uh, but so it allows the more popular big things and it allows more of the really small things because
Yeah.
they're not making a lot of the mid-tier stuff anymore.
It's funny, like all these movies have such massive budgets, and then movies like Godzilla Minus One pop in there, not a huge budget, but gets awards,
Yeah,
gets nominated.
yeah. So it won for special effects.
Yeah,
And, yeah,
which is interesting because like the special effects, they were good, but I've seen better special effects.
yeah.
I hate that award. That's always a cop out award to me.
Yeah,
I
They,
it's
yeah.
crazy.
I think that was a cool win though, just because it's like when Godzilla is never gonna be up for any award,
No.
period.
yeah, that's true.
So it was almost like a lifetime achievement award just for this thing that doesn't really exist, this creature that is fictional, right?
Right,
I remember Godzilla in the 90s won the first MTV Movie Award lifetime achievement thing,
Oh,
right? That was a joke,
right.
but
yeah, hated that
but
movie.
but this, well, I mean, not the movie, like the character
Oh,
Godzilla,
oh, the character itself?
or yeah, it was before the 90s movie came out. The character, they honored the character with the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, that's funny.
Um, but uh, but yeah, so today seeing Godzilla minus one win, I think is voters being like, Godzilla's been with us since the 50s. Let's give it to
Right.
Godzilla, or maybe
Did
it's
did
Right.
you
60s. I think it's 62.
Thought it was the
Yeah,
A
no,
50s.
long
it's 50.
time
It might be 50.
Because
before I was born.
I thought Godzilla was kind of like
I think 54.
yeah, like an allegory
Yeah, you
for
might be
World
right.
War II fall.
It is. It is absolutely an allegory for.
Did you watch Godzilla Minus
Let's see.
One?
I have been wanting to watch it, and it just now became available to watch at
Uh,
home. I missed it in theaters
oh, that was
because I've
special.
been working on
I
some.
want Brandon and Spencer to watch it. Though that movie was
Yeah,
really good.
that's what my son keeps telling me, and I really cannot wait to see it. But I've been working on some book projects that have kept me away from the movies a lot lately. I mean, I've seen a few things here and there in theaters lately, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff like toward the end of the year that I'd never got around to, and that was one of them.
Okay.
But
Makes sense.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, it was good. I don't want to take all the questions. Brandon Spencer, y'all got questions? But, I mean, I know I got questions.
I do have a question, but first, just circling back real quick. I remember you saying that you were on like a true crime documentary. I assumed that you were one of the like actors in the dramatization of what happened,
No.
not being interviewed because somebody got murdered.
Yeah, no, I'm not an actor. I'm not a reenactor. I was one of the talking heads.
Got it.
Yeah, my former boss was murdered by his wife and her boyfriend, and so I was interviewed for it was a Discovery Channel show called it's either called So You Think You Know Someone or So You Think You Really Know Someone or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It'd pop up if you search that sort of thing, but I testified in both their murder trials, and I'm happy to say that they are both on death row. So
Nice.
karma
They,
sucks.
they did a reverse OJ.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But I do have a question. So if you do, how do you separate being a fan and being a critic when watching films?
Yeah, that can be tough to do. Okay, so let's take Batman. Like growing up as a kid, Batman was my hero. When I was growing up, they started replaying the Adam West Batman show on afternoons on TVs, and I loved that. I didn't realize back then that it was kind of a comedy. I just thought it was cool because it's
Right.
Batman. So I could not wait when Tim Burton Batman thing came out. I was a huge fan. I even loved Batman Returns more. Uh, Not a big Val Kilmer fan, so like Batman Forever, I liked it, but I didn't love it. Okay, but then you get to Batman and Robin. Now I don't think that one, that's the George Clooney one, the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I don't think it's complete trash, but
Same.
it's not a good movie. I've seen it, I think three or four times still, because I keep like maybe this next time after years, like I'll see something in it that I just failed to. So that's one of those cases where it's like I try, like as a huge Batman fan, uh, that was disappointing. Like I can't be a fan to the point of denying what everyone else sees, right? I can't like, oh no, Batman and Robin, you just don't get it. That's that's an excellent movie. As I can't do that. That's just I think for the most part that's come naturally to me. Spider-Man's the same way. Spider-Man was probably my number two character growing up. So when they finally made a movie of it, I love Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2.
Oh
I
yeah.
I like Spider-Man 3. I don't think it is a bad movie like everyone else
I agree.
seems to think it's a bad movie.
I think it's a bad movie.
I don't see a problem with it.
The criticism of that is, oh my gosh, they have three villains. But yet I'm looking at things today that get a pass from critics. And I'm like, but this thing has 24 superheroes in it, and you have a
Yes.
three villains. Like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So I mean, it goes for anything. Like, I love the James Bond franchise. It doesn't mean I love every James Bond movie that comes out. Um, I have to even if I wasn't writing about those things and some like I don't review everything I see. I just don't have the time to. Uh, but if I was reviewing like every single Batman or Spider-Man or James Bond, like I just have to be honest from what I think. And like I'm not a big fan of the Tom Holland Spider-Man phase. Like I liked the first one okay. I really did not like the one everyone loves, which is the one that has Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
Really?
I understand I'm in the minority, and that's fine.
Hmm.
Just did not work for me for whatever reason.
It's a
I
nostalgia trap.
didn't write a review for that. Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. But like I did not write a review for that one, but if I had, I would have had to have been honest and you have to care or not care about what other people are going to throw at you, especially now on social media.
Oh yeah.
Everyone will immediately insult you
Yeah.
versus, they make it personal, whereas you don't make it personal, right? You're reviewing
Right.
the film. You're not saying, oh, this director is a, I mean, you might criticize his skills as a director, but you're not saying he's a stupid person,
Right.
right?
Right.
You're critiquing the art, not the
Yeah.
person.
But
Yeah.
what you get back is absolutely just a personal attack on you.
Right.
So you have to not care about that stuff. And I mean, I'm kind of lucky in that I people don't really pay that much attention to me to a point where like I do get that kind of criticism every now and then, but for the most part, I tend to fly under the radar on those sorts of things because like there are some film critics today who specialize in I'll say the fanboy stuff, like the comics, you know, all the Marvel movies, all the Star Wars things. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that that's what they specialize in. And I'm not that person. I still write about those things, but I write about other things too. So I don't have
Right.
the following that those people do.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
then for you, is there a difference between is it a good movie and do I like this movie? Or are those usually the same thing for you?
I would say for the most part, they're the same. Now, I think as I've gotten older, and like especially with the awards-based stuff, like I can recognize like there may be movies I don't like, and that sadly that tends to be a lot more these days. Like I'm not a huge Oppenheimer person.
Mhm.
People loved that movie. I thought, it's okay, but yet it is impeccably made. It is incredibly acted. It is wonderfully directed. But something about it, the story or just I don't know, maybe it's the all the time period or time, range of years it tries to put into 2.5 hours or three, whatever it was, just didn't fully work for me. So I know that that is a well-crafted film, but it didn't entertain me like I expected it to or wanted it to. Sometimes that's a first viewing thing. And so oftentimes I'll rewatch things to see if my opinion changes. It doesn't happen a lot.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you rewatch stuff
I
often?
do not, I used to rewatch everything. Like if I loved something, I would buy the DVD and watch it immediately again. Uh,
Do you still buy physical media?
I do.
I
I
I do for certain things I love. Like I do that as well. If there's a video game, all my comic books I buy physical.
mm.
Um, if it's
Oh,
physical, I do that.
I cannot read on a Kindle. I cannot read on a phone. Like, yeah, a blog, an article, sure. But a book, I can't do it. I love the feeling of a book, the smell of a book, the weight of a book. I just can't do it. But
See,
yeah, you can see
I'm the
behind me,
opposite
like
there.
I've got
Oh yeah,
DVDs just
Oh
all
yeah.
behind. They're everywhere.
yeah. You
I
said DVDs too. Them ain't even Blu-rays. Them
I
DVDs
do
too,
have I do have, yeah, I have
huh?
Blu-rays, but like I have made an effort this year to really slow down, um, to like rent more stuff instead of just blind buying because I just get burned too many times.
Yeah, that's me with
Yeah.
comics. That is me with comics. I'm like, oh man, this story sounds amazing. I get to read and I'm like, why did I buy this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like I'm reselling this on eBay, but it's like, and you make most of your money back, right? Like you tend to make your money back minus the cost of what a Blockbuster video used to be.
yeah,
What you
Yeah.
pay for it on VOD to rent it for $4 or whatever. But still, it's like I should just maybe like spend the $4. And how many times I'm to the point in life now where I'm like, how many times am I really gonna watch this movie again? Right?
Yeah.
Like even if I love it, like my favorite movie last year was The Holdovers, which is essentially a comedy. And I mean, I love it. I still think about it today, but I haven't bought it because I'm like, am I really going to rewatch it? I might because it's Christmassy. So I might watch it again around Christmas, but I'm holding off on the physical media just because I buy too much. That's the problem. Buy too
That
much.
movie, I've been I put it on my list to watch because I know the girl, she won the Oscar, right?
He deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list because I love that. I
Yeah.
love really a lot of the actors, but I just have not gotten to it.
Yeah. Divine Joy Randolph.
Yeah,
She was excellent. And she was also, I thought she should have been nominated. She was, first thing I saw her in was the Eddie Murphy Dolomite is My Name on
Oh
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, I remember that.
She was
Dolomite.
awesome in that too.
she was. She
But
was.
I think that's one of those things like, oh, well, it's Netflix, so it's not a real movie.
Right.
But that
That's
really,
true.
he should have been nominated for that too.
I'm glad you said it because it's on Amazon, so I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's a terrific movie.
It's interesting. We talk about the physical media. Like I said, I buy physical comics, but I like to read them digitally, only for the convenience. Yeah, and it's great. But buying it physical is probably the collector in me. I mean, you
Yeah.
see everything behind me.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big time collector, but it's like I prefer reading digital only because it's easier for me to be like, I can be anywhere, whip out an iPad, read it real quick, or whip out my phone, read it right quick. And I'm like that way with books too. Like I prefer to do audiobooks because I'm very visual, but I'm also very audio. So like I can sit here and listen. I listen to so many podcasts where when it comes to audiobooks, it's the same thing for me. It's like I can just sit here and listen, tune everything out, and repeat everything back to you as if the book, like if I sat there and read the book. But I like to also have the physical copy there with me.
So I've received free digital comics through promos and stuff, and I just don't like the experience of the panel by panel.
Oh,
Oh,
I turn that
Either
off. Yeah, the
yeah,
guided view is what it's
I
called. I turn
oh,
that off. Yeah, I hate that.
ruins the entire experience.
hate
Yeah, I
that.
hate it.
Yeah. So I cannot, yeah, like I get like I do the digital previews to like test out a chapter to see if it's something I want to, if the writing style's good or it's not set in a Comic Sans font because there are
Yeah,
people who got books and they don't know how to design that ruins a reading experience. But I just can't do digital. I've tried. I just love books too much. Like I've got hundreds of books on this side of the room that you can't see, and I have hundreds more in the other room, and I just can't do it. And it pains me to get rid of a book. I
Yeah.
it's really tough for me. My wife does not understand that, but it's like giving away a child.
I would say I
I
feel you
can't
on
do
that one.
it.
I feel you. And my wife, so in our closet, I probably have about 2,000 comic books, and they're all
Yep.
in the boxes and everything. She's like, "What are you gonna do with these?" I'm like, "What you mean? What I'm gonna do with them? They're gonna stay right here. What you mean? I'm not getting rid of nothing. Like these are going with me to the grave. Like you better get a big casket. They're going right next to me."
You're not trying this is for the college fund.
Oh yeah, nah, forget them kids. I need them college. I need them books.
No,
Gotta earn it.
I'm a huge physical media person. I still love it. I think I always will, even though I need to slow down on some. But I mean, the problem is when I was reviewing, especially for the Oklahoma Gazette, that was in peak DVD time, and I would get, gosh, 20 free DVDs a week, it
Oh
seemed
my
like.
goodness.
Jeez.
I still have a ton of them, right? So it was
Yeah.
hard after working there for like 8 years to just go cold turkey. So I didn't. That was one reason I started up flickattack.com, was to try and stay in good graces with publicists and everything. But I still love physical media. Like I have, when you buy the DVDs or Blu-rays, you get a digital code with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have probably 400 digital movies in my account. And how many have I watched? Half of one on a plane. That's it. I never watched them, but they're there if I want to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I just
funny.
don't know when I ever will. So I don't know. Maybe I'll take a trip someday where we'll require it, but
True. Spencer, did you have any other question?
I mean, I do, but I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. So I have a writing background. I have a degree in journalism. I did reviews for a small website, so I kind of understand like the small scale process. So like I just wanted to know like I remember asking Jordan, he said like something about like you watch how many movies do you watch a day? Like what's your process? Do you like get home and be like, all right, 6 o'clock, I gotta knock out two movies today, or
No, it really ebbs and flows. It's different. Like lately I have been watching movies at lunch. Um I'm on a TV movie kick right now, watching things from the 70s, like on YouTube, and
gotcha.
usually 70 to 80 minutes, and I will put those on 1.25 speed and can watch them in an hour.
I've been hearing people do that with audiobooks, and I tried it out the other day. I was like, it's actually not bad at all. I
Yeah.
might try. I might try with a movie.
It depends on who's reading for audiobooks.
Yeah, too.
Because
Yeah, true. You
That's true.
get now if you get a 1.5, you can start really telling the difference. But I mean, that's only for those type like TV movies or things on YouTube. They're
Yeah.
not even good quality, but
Right.
I've seen it. But I used to watch a movie a day or more. Now, my life is different. I got remarried 5 years ago. Although we do watch a lot of movies, it's not every day.
Gotcha.
So we might go all week and not watch any together, and then on the weekends we'll watch several. It's not unusual for me to watch three a day on a weekend.
Mhm.
Um, or if I take a day off, like the last time I took a day off, my wife was out of town. I watched five back to back to back to back.
Dang, I respect it. I respect it.
Uh, so it just depends on the day. I used to, like, when I was at Gazette, I would pretty much watch, oh gosh, I mean, I could watch at work while I was working, because I was pretty good at, like, I'd have the corner of the screen playing a
Hmm.
DVD while working on this half of the screen.
Right.
I got very good at that. But then I'd go home and watch another one at night. I'd watch probably four a day on the weekend, but it's, my life is different now. It's slowed down. Uh, things have changed, but I have been averaging, oh gosh, are you guys on Letterbox? Because I log
I
every,
am.
and I guess I could tell you exactly how many I've seen this
I was
year.
gonna
So
say, someone. So shout out the way we met. Shout out to Harrison. Harrison told me about Letterbox. I had no
yeah,
idea what it was, and then
I told you about it. It's fine.
yeah, I
It's fine.
remember you.
Go
I
ahead.
remember you told me about it, but you
just
tell me
listen,
something.
Harrison.
Yeah, you tell me something. I'm gonna just brush it off.
Yeah,
But he told me about it, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize because I do the same. I do that same Letterbox style, but with anime.
uh-huh.
Like I keep track of the anime I watch. But yeah, I had no idea about Letterbox for a long time. Well, I guess Brandon told me, but like I said, I just ignore him most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like I've been averaging almost one a day this
Got
year,
it.
but used to watch a ton more.
Yeah. That's legit. That's legit. I guess in regards to like the writing process, like for me, like writing is fun, but it's like
Mhm.
mentally exhausting at times. So like what gives you like what's your process, and also like what gave you the courage to kind of knock out a book? Like I feel like that's a bucket list item for a lot of people, but they don't necessarily
Yeah.
do it.
Well, the writing process, like I take notes while watching a movie. If it's one I know, like I'm gonna review this, right? Like if
Mm,
it's like I don't on my website, I don't review dramas, Oscar bait type stuff. I don't review
gotcha.
it. Any prestige things. That's not what the site's about. The site's about genre film. So if I'm watching a something like that, I don't even bother taking notes because I'm not gonna review it. But I take notes just to basically remember. So, because I don't, it's rare for me to write a review right afterwards, like it used to
Hmm.
be. It might take days or weeks, or actually sometimes even months before I get to that. So I have to write down, and it's not like a ton, one page of notes, um, in a small notebook, right?
Got it.
But it takes me longer now. My reviews, they in the for the Gazette, they used to be have to be 500 words. Now I do like four hefty paragraphs, so it's like 250, 300 words. And that's like it's kind of exhausting, but I
Sure.
still enjoy doing it. I get really hung up on how to start it, and then it flows for a while, and I get really hung up on how to end it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that that just seems to get harder for me as the years go on. I think like, oh yeah, I can knock this review out in 30 minutes. And there are some that I can do that with. It's just rare. And lately it's like I think that and then 3 to 4 hours later I'm still working on it.
Right.
It and it really is like a mood too. Like you have to be in the mood to write. You can't just sit down. So if you don't feel like it, you're just gonna stare at the screen.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone who wants to write, likes to write, like you can't force. You can't. I mean, you can put something down, but that doesn't mean it's going to be anything good. And not like you should try and write like your first draft is not your final draft, right?
Mm.
And just getting something out, like you want even that something to be worth the shot. And then how to do a book? Well, I mean, it's mostly a collection of pre-existing material. It's probably
Gotcha.
85% old, 15% new. It was something I wanted to do for a long time, but it was basically me waiting for technology to catch up. Like Amazon's program when they came out, first it was just Kindle only. I didn't want to do Kindle. Like I wanted to do a real book. So once they got their print on demand technology where you can put it up and they don't print a book until someone buys it, right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know
That's
that.
how those things work. Like that's how they can make money because there's no copies sitting around catching, getting dust on a shelf waiting for someone to buy it. They print it once it's ordered. Um, so I was just waiting around for that. Once that hit, I designed the book and redesigned the book because I wasn't happy with it and redesigned it again. Got it to where I liked it and then put it out. And now I'm just started working on the second one. Like, I mean, I have thousands and thousands of old reviews that I could put in there, but I'm still writing new ones. So uh,
Mm.
most of them are going to be, you know, ones I've written in the last 3 years.
That makes sense. That makes sense. My last question is, as a critic, do you ever like, because I know there's like I only looked at my old thing. I remember I wrote a review for Red Tails, the movie about
Oh yeah, yeah.
the
George
yeah,
Lucas,
yeah, yeah,
Steven.
yeah. I was gushing about it. I was like, man, this is the greatest movie. Like the review was trash. But do you ever go back and be like, you ever go back and look at old review and be like, oh, okay, like I maybe over critiqued this or I didn't take it enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, I noticed, so I did a lot of that. Oh, the one thing I didn't say that when you were asking me who I was and what I did from like 1994 to 2001, I published a magazine, a quarterly magazine that was sold through Towered Records worldwide, and it was a pop culture magazine. So it's called Hitch, like the Will Smith movie, although they stole that from me. Uh, so I did a lot of stuff for that, but so as I was reviewing films for that, like I was seeing a lot of things on bootleg VHS before they were officially released because you weren't ever sure if they were going to be released because it was like from Hong Kong or wherever.
Yeah.
Uh, or you'd watch things on cable because it was kind of right before DVD. So things weren't as readily available. And I learned it took me a couple years to learn that like things I was not liking so much, it wasn't really the movie, it was the presentation. It was the transfer of the disc or,
Mm,
TNT or TBS, the print they showed is really dark. It's not the movie, the real movie, it's actually that way. Like I remember
gotcha.
first saw John Carpenter's The Fog on cable,
Oh, I like that movie.
not liking it.
Mm,
And it turned out it was because whatever they were showing on TV was just a trash print. When I saw it on DVD, I was like, oh my God, this is a completely different movie and I love it. So
gotcha.
I had to learn the difference of you really have to take into account how you're watching something. Maybe not so much today where you can find HD quality stuff online
Right.
Yeah, it was
quickly.
different. It's funny because like we just mentioned the other day, I watched Team America and I remember watching that on bootleg and I was like, oh, I did not like this. But it was a bad quality, bootleg
Mhm.
movie. Now if I watch it again, we'll see if I actually still feel that way.
It's really funny.
But like
I didn't.
there were a lot of Jet Li movies that before he became famous here and popular here, uh like they would get released in Hong Kong, right? And so I would see those presentations, but they were kind of grainy.
Mm,
They didn't whatever I think the label was Tai Sang. It's not around anymore, but they didn't invest in the presentation like Miramax would pick these things up and they would dub them and maybe even cut some scenes out, which isn't great, but they
yeah.
looked. And so I was always torn, like, I know this Miramax one is not the movie because it's,
You're right.
it's dubbed and but it looks great. Like so that was always and the Jackie Chan movies were the same way before those started being imported by American studios. They were the same thing. It's just what you got from Hong Kong just didn't look as good.
Yeah.
So, things are different now, though. I mean, we're lucky. We live everything's HD now.
Yeah, for real.
For
Mhm.
real.
What is your favorite genre and your least favorite genre?
So I think my favorite is horror. I think part of that has to do with I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid. I was the oldest of three boys. I was fairly sheltered household. Did not get, if it wasn't PG, I wasn't getting to see it. And even then, some PGs were not allowed. Because
Yeah.
I think just that is just me reacting against my childhood and being like, now I can watch all these things. And I kind of just like Jaws is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. That is one of the few movies that scares me. There aren't many horror things that scare me at all, but I love the genre. I would say
Mhm.
that that's probably my favorite, even the trash horror. I just get so much joy out of watching. My least favorite genre might be dramas.
Mm.
And uh, when they're done really well, I love them. Like I noticed you guys reviewed the Iron Claw. Like I really liked that movie a lot.
Oh, amazing.
That movie, I mean, maybe like I'm not even a fan of wrestling. I know you guys are. I'm not a
Mhm.
wrestling fan, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a good movie.
Yeah, like other dramas, they just something about them, they just feel false. A lot of romance stuff. Like obviously, I'm a big believer in romance in real life, but something about it that just rings false.
So Titanic doesn't do it for you.
It might be that. Titanic, no. I love the second half of that movie. I won't love it. I really like and admire the second half of that movie. The disaster area, the
Is
part
it
of
the
it.
iceberg half?
They're
Uh-huh.
dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but Jim Cameron is a great director, and he is all like his movies are always artistically perfect and pushing the boundaries. But I hate Avatar. I just
Yeah.
I don't
do
like Avatar
not,
either. It was to
Same.
me that was
do not like it.
overrated and it brought in the worst era for me for movies, which was the 3D era.
Yes.
Like they had to do every movie 3D, and I'm like, no,
But
Yeah.
that
no.
was what you talked about. That was a presentation thing. The
Hmm.
only reason anyone cared about Avatar is because it was beautiful
Yeah.
and it was the first time. So like we had never like 3D before that was the blue and red glasses and it was, Spy Kids. And
Like
but
game over. Yeah.
then yeah, whenever they did that, it was about the timing and the technology and the presentation because the movie itself it's not it's Pocahontas. We've seen it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
Yeah, it literally brought in every 3D movies. Then they wanted to try to release 3D TVs. I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come
Our
on.
Avatar, so like artistically, it is, I mean, it is a beautiful movie. It looks fantastic, but I just hated the story. I
Yeah.
hate
Yeah.
I hate
Visually,
I hate the design of the
The face.
yeah, I just don't like that. And I just that style of fantasy I'm not a fan of. I mean, there are elements of every genre that I could probably say I don't like that kind. Like, not a big musicals person, but every now and then one comes out and I'm like, wow, that was good.
Yeah.
Uh, that's pretty rare, but
I've turned the corner on musicals. I don't know why. I used to
I
hate
think
them.
look, there's some great ones, but there are a lot of bad ones.
Brandon, I don't know if that's true because it feels like since High School Musical, you've been locked in.
Yeah,
I've
man.
been locked in, man. La
Yeah,
La
man.
Land, I didn't like La La Land. But a lot of the other ones I've enjoyed. Wonka, fire. I don't know if that's technically musical, but really good.
I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last one that I enjoyed. That was when I was dreading because I was like, there doesn't need to be another. I don't care what Willy Wonka's backstory,
Same.
I said the same thing.
but that movie was so charming, and I didn't
Yep.
expect it to be so funny.
Man, I tried to
Really,
tell him.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
really good.
we've I think we've talked about an example of a movie that or a few movies that are like critically everybody loves them and you just they're not for you. What are some quote unquote bad movies that you just love?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. I wish I were more prepared for it. Um, so there's a this is not like a favorite movie or everything, but this is one of the first thing that comes to mind. There's a movie that consistently cracks me up that I found very funny, and it has some of the worst reviews you could find. It was called Kung Pao, Enter the Fist.
Oh, yeah. I
I
remember
remember that
that.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie was funny though.
With Steve, oh, God, Steve Oden. It's not Odenkirk. Well, it might be Odenkirk. Not related to Bob Odenkirk.
Hang
Odenkirk.
on.
His name is Odenkirk, Steve Odenkirk, and he like wrote the Ace Ventura movies and things like that. And he was famous at the time for making these like a Star Wars parody with thumbs, like he had faces on the thumbs.
Yeah.
I
I
know that
hate
one.
that. I hate that type of stuff. But he took an old Jimmy Wang, oh no, I forgot the name, a 70s kung fu superstar, and Jimmy Wang Yu, and took an old movie of his and dubbed a comic soundtrack on it, and inserted himself digitally into these scenes, and it just makes me laugh. It's so funny. But I love kung fu movies, so that might have something with it, but it is one of the most reviled.
This looks awful. To be
You never seen
honest.
it, Brett? I seen it as a kid. I enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
wonder
like,
how
I
I would
remember
feel
seeing
about
it
it
when I was
now.
young.
Yeah, I remember. I wonder how I feel about it now. But as a kid, I really enjoyed it.
So that's definitely one that comes to mind. Oh, I wish I had a better answer. Um, I mean, there are a ton of horror movies that, you know, horror is pretty much frowned upon.
Yeah.
I think critics are starting to come around to it because of like the art house, what they call art house horror, elevated horror, like Hereditary and Midsummer and things like that, The Witch. But like one that I really love from the 70s is called Kingdom of the Spiders, and it's with William Shatner and a bunch of tarantulas, real tarantulas, and really big tarantulas. And it's a bad movie, but it freaked me out as a kid. It has a really downer, scary ending, bleak ending that threw my world for a loop as a kid. But like I've rewatched it several times as an adult, and something about spiders just freaks me out. That's a trash movie that I really do love, and it's like if you've ever seen the movie Arachnophobia,
Mm.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
it's It's like that, but with no humor whatsoever. The real spiders, CGI spiders just don't do, that's not the same thing.
Right.
That's another one.
I went through big sci-fi phase, like the sci-fi channel. So like
Mhm.
Lavalantula,
Oh, those
Sharknado.
movies were so bad, but
But
they were so good.
I love them so much. They were so bad. Like when my oldest daughter was born, me and my wife would literally sit there and watch the Sci-Fi Channel as she was just like a little baby. We just watch them all day long. I was loving those movies. But yeah, they were really bad.
I mean, critically, like critics hate slasher movies, right?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th things are some of the uh, worst reviewed stuff you can find, but I love that franchise. And it's
Right.
just weird 'cause I didn't like his again, it was not something I was allowed to see, but I saw a couple of them at friends' houses growing up, and I didn't really care for them. But now, as an adult, I like love them all. I When they came out on DVD, watched them all one right after the other, and just I couldn't get enough. And I just bought the Blu-ray set, and I want to do that again. I mean, I've got a ton of examples like that, but I wish I just had like, oh, the answer is this, and I don't have that. It's just stuff off.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin is one of my favorites, I'll say. That
Yeah.
soundtrack was fire. The seal. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a top one for
Oh, wait,
me. But
that was Batman Forever.
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It was Batman
Christopher
Forever.
Rose. Yeah.
Yeah, that one
Yeah.
had top tier. But Batman and Robin, it was good just because it had a bunch of different characters that we hadn't seen, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me ask you about one of my favorite movies. I want to get your take on it. I love the movie Life of Pi. Have you seen it?
I have. I liked it.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you. That makes me feel good because I really like that movie.
yeah. And that's one of those that you hear about and you're like, it all takes place on a boat. And there's a tiger. How could it be good?
Yeah,
Well, they figured it out. Ang Lee figured it out.
Yeah, my
Uh,
wife hates movies that take place in one location. And
uh-huh.
so for her, like she hated that movie. She hated Interstellar. If
Yeah.
if they're like in one spot for the majority of the movie, she's like, I don't want to watch it.
And you'll notice that was a big budget movie, but you'll notice the one location thing in a ton of low budget movies.
yeah. I was gonna say,
Just the cheapest way to make a movie. If you have to pay, I mean, most like some movies are shot at a place where the person lives or owns, right? So
mhm.
they don't have to pay anything. But if they do have to pay that, like in an abandoned building, um, or if they don't sneak in, like
Yeah.
everything is going to be in that building that they paid to shoot in for a day or two.
Yeah,
Because they can, that's the way you can make a movie, afford to make one.
So I guess she hates Saw because I feel like the first Saw just took place in that bathroom.
Yeah, but she also don't like bloody stuff
Yeah.
or horror at all. So yeah, she didn't like those. One of the series that we talk about a lot on the podcast is John Wick franchise. How you feel about the
Mhm.
John Wick franchise?
I, okay, I haven't seen the last one yet, the chapter 4, but
Oh
yeah, I'm a big,
man.
big John Wick person. That was weird because when the first one came out, like it was kind of came out from nowhere. It was
Nowhere.
Yep.
yeah.
dead periods of the year. Keanu Reeves was on a career, he had been on a downslide, and no one expected anything from that. It was released barely with any
I
push at
didn't see it.
all.
Not one trailer. I didn't even know what the movie was. Me and a friend were just like, "Hey, let's go see this."
Yeah, well, the trailer, I remember seeing the trailer in the theater and people laughing at it because it ended with oh, his famous line, which I can't remember now off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back. The
Yeah.
thing about
Oh yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
and
Yeah.
he's
Oh
not the
yeah.
best actor, but he is a great just presence.
Yeah.
And that's one of the characters that he plays really well at. And that movie was just such a surprise. That movie kicked ass, literally and figuratively. And yeah, I love it. I love 2. I love 3. I
You
no
gotta
action
see.
before. Four was spoiled for me before it ever
Oh man.
came out, but I'm still gonna watch it. And I'm looking forward to the spin-off that they're doing with Annie
Yeah.
Dog. I haven't watched the Continental, the Peacock.
Spencer, didn't you watch that one?
I
Yeah,
watched it too.
it's not it's not what you need.
It
It's
Yeah,
not
was
it's not that John Wick level.
it, it was it was trying to like the foundation of it was kind of tough because like about a character you don't necessarily care about as
yeah.
much. So it's like, and then the fighting style is cool, but it's not that much fighting.
Yeah, it's not John Wick.
Yeah. So
Like John Wick is definitely a we know why we're here. Let's do
Mhm.
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
they tried to yeah,
They
they
try to
tried
make
to
it like a drama, like real like detective. It's just like, dude, we're here to see people shoot
yeah,
guns
like
and fight.
they
You
tried to
know.
do the dialogue thing and it just didn't
Yeah.
catch.
That's I think is part of the fault of the just Hollywood. Like everything has to be a franchise. No, it doesn't. Like,
Right.
yeah, sure, make your John Wick 2, 3, and 4, but not everything needs a spin-off in a world,
Hmm.
right? You don't need a
Yeah.
world. Some things don't need a world, and
Right.
that's one
Oh,
that I'm.
if they see that an IP is successful, they're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're milking this."
Yep,
Yes. Every
exactly,
drop.
exactly. Unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be for a while until they start the more failure. Like,
Yeah.
Marvel right now, but like if they don't pull themselves out, but
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot too. Marvel they got a lot to kind of do right now. For me, I'm a huge X-Men fan. I'm really hoping that they land the X-Men correctly.
Mhm.
X-Men 97 has given me a lot of hope, but for me, I feel like they have to land the X-Men correctly. And if they don't, I do feel like Marvel is going to continue to struggle.
Yeah, they've
I
got a
kind
lot.
of think I kind of think that's why they're doing Fantastic Four first, because like the stakes aren't as high.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
we talk all the time. Like there's Marvel and then there's X-Men. They're almost like two completely different things. And so yeah, I feel like the Fantastic Four they're a little bit safer to do versus the X-Men. Because yeah, if you get that wrong, that's a tough one.
You
mhm.
can tell I won't say desperate, but you can tell they know it's like game seven. The way they're casting is like they're spending every
Yeah, they're
any
taking their
cap they
time.
have. Yeah, they're going for the biggest actor possible.
And they've never really done the Fantastic Four correctly, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
because that
why
last one was
why the
bad.
stakes are lower, Spencer. It's like because they haven't hit it out of the park like X-Men.
yeah.
Stakes are
So,
definitely
Now what about TV shows? One of the shows that we finished reviewing and all three of us loved was Shogun.
low. Mhm.
Have you got a chance to watch Shogun?
I've not. It's on my queue, my list. I've
yeah.
not watched it yet.
Oh, you got to bump that up.
I
You got
remember, like, I remember when the 70s miniseries Shogun came
Yeah.
out. That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I know I'm sounding old, but I am. Three networks. You had three channels to watch, right?
Right.
So you were gonna watch one of them, and Shogun was an enormous hit.
Yeah.
I remember watching that as a kid, but yeah, I do want to see this, especially because I love like martial arts stuff, and when it's done correctly, and I like Japanese culture, reading some books on that lately. Um, so that's yeah, it's definitely
they landed that one. The
Really did.
drama, the action, the acting, the scenery, like everything. They hit that one out the park.
it looks yeah, the trailers just look fantastic. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they made it work because that's again that's IP. Um,
Right.
I mean, it was a huge bestseller and a huge TV miniseries, but they're doing so many of those revivals and reboots because it worked once, so it can work again. And I guess that's one thing
Yeah.
that they did. And I think that's where Hollywood should do more of is like remake these things that have, that people don't know so much about, like
Right.
after a certain age, uh,
Hmm.
things that have fallen out of the consciousness of pop culture rather than something that, let's reboot Spider-Man again. No, you don't
Yeah.
Right.
Spider-Man again,
Right.
right? So, or Fantastic Four. Um, yeah, because that's like the fourth iteration of the Fantastic Four, if you count the
That old one that
version that never
yeah.
came. But yeah, that like I'm glad to hear that that one works.
And that was actually like in the vein of my next question was what are your thoughts on reboots and redos and reimaginings and like super late sequels
Yeah.
as opposed to, new stuff.
Well, again, like when they're done correctly, they're great. I mean, the problem is they're just usually not, that's usually not the case. I'm not a big fan of like the legacy, especially on TV, like the reboots of like, oh, this canceled show, let's make it again because it's never as good. Uh,
Mhm.
Never even gets near it. But the movies, it's a little, it it just gets a little tiring. But again, if they do it correctly, that's great. Um, Anyone who says, "Oh, I don't like remakes," and then you remind them of movies that they love that were remakes, like John Carpenter's The Thing or David Cronenberg's The Fly,
Yeah.
remakes. And
Yeah.
most people love those over the originals if they've even seen the originals, or they love both of them. But those are remakes. So you can't be anti-remake, but I do think there's uh, a better, like it makes more sense to remake something that maybe didn't work before or that
Yeah.
people just forgotten about rather than, you know, it was a few years ago.
I think
Right.
Planet of the Apes, I think, is a good one, like the James Franco ones.
That is a
Like
great,
that was a good one that they redid. Like everyone liked a lot of people liked that original one. Not a lot of people cared about that 2001 with Mark Wahlberg. But like when the James Franco one came out, like that was good. All three movies was really good.
Yeah.
I love the five original Planet of the Apes movies. I love those. I remember being really excited for Tim Burton's remake. And that, it's like, yeah, I kind of liked it, but I kind of didn't like it. I'm just sort of on the fence with that, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists and there are parts of it I really like, but overall it's probably kind of boring.
Yeah.
Um, but then yeah, so I had no expectations for that James Franco one. I thought, oh, this is going to be more of the same, and it was not. It's that's a great example of how to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it is really a sequel, and but it's a great way of, like, oh, the last one didn't work. Well, here's why. Let's not do that. Let's take it in a completely different direction while still, remaining in the storyline.
Yeah.
And they did an awesome job with that. And the two, I'm with you, the two movies that follow, I think were great. And I don't know about this new one because the director, just not a big as fan of his movies as the past directors. So we'll see. I've read some great things. I've read some not so great things. Um, but I'm still excited about it. I'm glad they keep making them because
I
that's where I feel like they're not overdoing that one.
yeah.
Agreed. It gives some space.
Yeah, and they're not like, I know there's comics, but they haven't tried to revive it as a TV show. There's not another subplanet of the
Spinoffs.
apes that they're trying
Yeah.
to make their continental version of or whatever. Not
Uh
they're not
so
over.
I
Just
got one more question before, at least on
yeah,
my side, before I move on to like a game. So another thing that we kind of go through on this podcast. So Spencer doesn't watch any trailers at all. Me,
really.
Brandon, he kind of leaned back and forth, like not watching trailer, watching one trailer. For me, I watch one trailer. If that's the teaser, if that's
Yeah,
all I get, that's the only thing I'm watching. Where do you stand when it comes to trailers?
I love trailers. Um, I remember the days before, like I remember going to seeing RoboCop in the theaters with a friend, and the friend was like, "Wouldn't you love it if there was like a TV show that just played trailers?" And I'm like, "Yes, I would." And then, years later, there was the E channel, and they had a show called Coming Attractions, so just trailers.
Oh
And
yeah.
I guess there's like they're cable guide channel where they show trailers and stuff. But
Yeah,
I love trailers. I do think a lot of them lately give too much away.
Yeah.
that's why I stuck to the one. And if it's the teaser, I'm good with that. Like I really want to watch the Deadpool Wolverine trailer, but they already released one teaser. I think it was I think it was last year, or maybe the beginning of this year, and that's it. That's the only thing I can watch. So I haven't even watched the latest one.
The Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
was
Super
that?
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah,
um so I don't go out of my way like I used to. Like I would scour the internet. I would go to trailers.apple.com or whatever it was and watch everything that was on there. I don't do that anymore. Like I don't I don't hide from them. Like obviously going to the movies, like I have to be there before it starts because I love seeing
yeah.
trailers.
That's the only time
Same.
I'll watch the
Yeah.
trailers, like if it's in the theater. Yeah,
Yeah. So but I'm not going to run from the room if, you know, one comes on TV or my wife is watching one on her phone. Like I'm not going to run from them, but I'm not going to seek them out as much as I once did.
it's like we'll try to text Spencer like, "Yo, Spencer, you gotta watch this trailer." Spencer like, "Nope, I'm not watching it."
Not at all, huh?
No trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I think for me, like you said, they give too much in the trailer. I think the last one was it the Spider-Man one we all talked about? I think that was no, because I didn't watch the trailer. That Doctor Strange, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Doctor
That one or
Strange.
well, for me, the Batman too.
Yeah, there was. I think the Batman was the one I watched where I was like, okay, I'm done
Yeah, it's
That's
like
because
they give
know,
away too much.
yeah, they do. You're right, they do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
trailers used to tease more, and it's like it was all about getting you excited or just curious, like what's gonna happen. And
Hmm.
now it's like they have to show you boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's from the literal end of the movie.
Right.
And it used to not be that way. So there was more of an art form to them. Now they're just kind of like,
yeah.
as many shots as you can cram in. Let's do it.
That's why I like the teasers. The teasers, they don't even give you anything. They give you a couple shots of the characters. I was like, okay, all right, that's what I get. I mean, you're gonna get my money either way it go. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just watch this a little
Oh,
bit.
I am big. I love when I can go into a movie completely blind. That doesn't happen that often, but
Yeah.
it is kind of a thrill to do that. Even if you end up not liking it, just the experience of going in, not knowing what to expect, not having seen a frame, a photo, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's what
Um,
I want to do with this new Captain America movie coming out next year. I'm like, I'm not watching any. I'm not even gonna watch the trailer, nothing. Like, I don't want to see any fight scenes, nothing.
I think the
Mm.
only movie that happened for me with was Kingsman because I hadn't heard of it. Like I knew nothing about it,
Mhm.
and my friend was just like, "Hey, we're gonna watch Kingsman," and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And it was so good because I
Yeah.
knew nothing. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So,
Brandon Spencer, y'all got any more questions before we hop into the game?
No, sir.
um, the only movie or the only question I have left is, in your professional opinion, what, and you can give one or as many as you want, but what movie or movies are, in your opinion, true game changers?
Ooh. Like game changers how?
I will let you interpret the question however you
Well,
see
you
fit.
already mentioned Jaws, like that
Yeah.
changed. That did change the way films are released. Movies used to go town to town for the most part. They weren't same day. Um, Jaws kind of changed that. It appeared on more screens than anything else at the time. And it became, I mean, they were really strategic about it. And it became, the highest grossing movie ever made till Star Wars took that away. So Jaws was one, definitely. Star Wars was another one, and not just box office, but like just a completely different approach to sci-fi. think 2001: A Space Odyssey, years before those two by Stanley Kubrick.
Mhm.
68, I think. That is I mean, that's still like that movie, people either love it or they're completely bored by it. I happen to love it.
I was definitely on the board side, but I watched it way too young. I was
Yeah,
like, I know what's going
you're
on.
young, you'll hate it. I
Yeah.
tried as a kid and I just couldn't do it. But then I watched it like recovering from surgery and maybe being on pain pills at some this is a masterpiece. But it is like, and that was like a big, just huge, here's what you can do with you know, sci-fi and make it art. Um Lately I'm trying to think. Like uh, I don't think Avatar changed the game so much as just push that technology forward, but those are the ones I would cite, I think. I think those, because I mean, Jaws supposedly birthed the summer blockbuster. Like
Mhm.
movie season, there was no true season. Like
What about
things get released and take a year to get around places.
what about Jurassic Park?
Well, that was definitely was a special effects jump forward.
Yeah, I watched a documentary
Yeah,
on how that happened.
I would say that too was a big one. Um, yeah, that was like just things just didn't look as real before as they did there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Good temporary one.
I would argue The Dark Knight probably, just because people took superhero movies seriously after
Yeah,
that, probably.
I would say that too. I love that movie. And that is one that you're right. People were like, this should be up for Best Picture. And it wasn't. As
Right.
we talked about. Yeah, that's a game changer as well. And then you go back to like, I mean, the 60s, there were a lot of things that were game changers, like Bonnie and Clyde, with Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty changed, like it was put more violence on screen than people were used to.
Mm.
You watch it today and it's still bloody, but it's nothing compared to
Nothing
like
like it is today.
John Wick. But yeah, and it was pretty controversial. So that's a big one too.
I feel like in the technology sector, I think Toy Story is probably a game
Oh
changer.
yeah, 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 because that was like the
Yeah.
first guy animation, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
Not hand
Yeah.
drawn. Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so just a quick little game. We like to play a game called Start, Bench, Cut. So we'll pick one. You want to start it. Bench, kind of put on the back burner, and then cut. You can completely cut it out of existence.
Okay.
So I got five sets of three. So the first one, and it's funny, we've talked about some of these, and my second set, I won't get to. I'm curious to see what you go with. And then Brandon Spencer, you guys can also weigh in on this one too. So the first set of three, we have Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. So the first one, Star Wars, Empire Strike Back, and The Godfather.
Ooh.
So you have
Okay.
to start one, bench one, and cut one.
Start Empire. That's the best Star Wars
Yes,
movie.
sir.
I'll bench The Godfather. That's one I want to revisit because when I saw it in high school, I was like, okay, I respect this, but I don't love it. And I've never seen it again. But I hate Lord of the Rings, so that's a cut.
Ooh, okay.
Sorry for Lord of the Rings fans, but that's just not my style of
Yeah.
fantasy. That
Brandon
was
Spencer, what do y'all think?
I
Right.
actually agree.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm the same. I've seen a few of the Lord of the Rings, but I've always said the ring didn't have the effect I wanted it to have. So after that, I was like, I'm out.
That's
So
funny. I actually agree as well. I rewatched all the Lord of the Rings last year, like as an adult, and I was like, yeah, I don't see the big deal out of them. People hate me because I said I don't think Return of the King is all that, but
I will say my boss, heavy Lord of the Rings fan.
mm,
Like reads the books once a year type fan.
yeah, I don't try. I'm
I
going.
don't get it. Yeah, Harry Potter's better.
okay. Second set of three, we got The Dark Knight, Shawshank Redemption, and Jaws. Mind you, I had already had all these movies planned out before we even started talking,
All
so
right.
it's funny
Yeah.
you said Jaws.
Okay. Well, start with Jaws because that's one of my top 4 at least. I'll bench The Dark Knight, and I like The Shawshank Redemption. I think it is a really good movie, but it's not the best movie ever made, which people proclaim. So just out of those 3, that's the one that I had to cut, even though I think it's a really good movie.
Tough. Yeah,
That is tough.
I'd have to start Dark Knight. Shawshank, I watched it at an age I had no business watching Shawshank Redemption at, but it's an outstanding movie. It was like one of the first, that and like Forrest Gump were like the first, like, oh, this like drama can be a really good, like I like this genre type of thing. So I benched that. Jaws I've seen, but not as much. So I'd have to cut Jaws for me.
Oh, that's straight to the heart.
What you got, Spencer?
Same boat as Brandon. And I think that's probably because I haven't seen Jaws in a really long time. Like, I don't know if I've seen Jaws like as a grown ass man.
Mhm.
And I have seen the other two as an adult, so
Gotcha.
yeah.
I'll say for me, I start The Dark Knight, I bench Jaws, and I cut Shawshank Redemption. But yeah, I'm like, I think Shawshank Redemption, good movie. I think it's overrated though.
It is overrated because it's like the #1 movie on IMDb, I think. That's a
Yeah,
bit. I mean, it is a very good movie. I have nothing against it. I really don't.
I just think it's overrated.
Not the best.
Okay, we got Pulp Fiction, Avengers: Infinity War, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay. Start Pulp Fiction. I think that's a masterpiece. Bench Raiders.
Oh no.
Yeah. Bench Raiders. And I'd love that movie. But Avengers Infinity War, that was like where I was like, what is going on with Marvel?
Oh
They're
no.
Oh,
way
Oh
too much stuff
no.
in one movie. And that was where I started to really
It was 2
rethink.
movies, but okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is tough to hear. That's
wow.
now that's the shot to our heart. That's the shot to our heart right there.
It's
Uh,
tough.
yeah, Brandon Spencer, what y'all think?
Uh,
Because when you read them, I was like, oh, this is easy.
yeah.
I'm gonna start Infinity War. I'm gonna binge Pulp Fiction, and I'm gonna cut Raiders.
I've told myself I'm gonna rewatch all the Indiana Jones movies. So I probably need to come back on this. But yeah, for now I'm gonna go with Spencer.
Yeah, same for me. That could be our age. You know,
Could
the
be.
movie, the
Absolutely.
movies don't hit the same for us. Raiders of the Lost Ark, any of those Indiana Jones movies.
I think age and interest, because
Pulp
yeah.
Fiction's kind of older, but still hits.
Yeah, I was like 30 years old this year,
As
I
I want to
think.
say
Yeah,
94.
but I would say it's not like Raiders though.
No, Raiders, yeah. Raiders
Yeah, that's
is
true.
a big one.
Okay, we got Goodfellas, Mad Max Fury Road, and Back to the Future.
All right, start Goodfellas. That's a masterpiece. Um, bench Back to the Future. And I hate to cut any of these, but I'll say Mad Max Fury Road because just of the 3, it's the one I like the least, even though
That's
I really, really like it.
that's how the game is. It's like we have
I
really good
know.
options, and like, dang, I got to
Yeah.
cut one.
Is this the Tom Hardy Mad Max or the one before that?
No, the Tom Hardy one.
Okay.
What y'all thinking?
Spencer.
I think I would also start Goodfellas, but I would bench Mad Max just because Back to the Future didn't do it for me. And that may be a time thing.
I like Back to the Future.
I don't hate it, but I'd rather watch Mad Max.
I gonna start Back to the Future. I'm going to bench Goodfellas. You know, I'm not that much of a gangster movie guy. And then I haven't watched the Mad Max movies, so I'd have to cut it.
So we're
I'm
coming out with a new one.
yeah, I'm right there with
Mm.
Brandon. I like Back to the Future, and I'll bench Goodfellas and cut Mad Max. All right, the last one. We got Jurassic Park, we got Aliens, and we got Inception.
Wow. Oh, this is another tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jurassic Park, Aliens, and Inception. Okay, I'd start Aliens.
Is Aliens the first one?
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, wait, is Aliens the second one? That's the one with
Alien is the first one. Aliens is the
and
second.
Aliens is the one with what's her name?
Well,
Sigourney Weaver's in
they're
all
all
of them.
Sigourney Weaver. Up,
But isn't at the end she's in the big suit and she fights
yeah,
the queen? That's
yeah,
this one, right? Okay, okay.
Aliens. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I would start that. That's one of James Cameron's very best. And probably the best of that series. Um, Now I forgot. Oh, Inception, I would bench. That was my favorite movie of that year. I still I still admire the hell out of it. And I hate to cut any of these, but Jurassic Park would be the one. Just 'cause
Oh man.
I know, and I've seen that movie so many times. It's like there's nothing against it. It's just I happen to like the other two more.
This is a tough one.
I know.
That
Mine,
was probably, I'm guessing that came out when you guys were kids.
Jurassic
Yeah.
Park.
did, yes.
So that
Yeah.
I used to want to be a paleontologist because of that movie.
Yeah,
And I got a little older. I was like, yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
boring.
I'd hate to do that to your childhood. That's not what I.
And that's the thing, like my answer is more based on like nostalgia and life than the movies
Yeah,
themselves because I remember my dad, if he was at home on a Saturday, we were watching Jurassic Park.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Over and over.
like, I'm starting Jurassic Park. My mom loves the Alien franchise,
That's
and
cool.
so I'm gonna bench Alien, and I'm gonna have to cut Inception because there's no there's no family tie to that one for me.
For me, I'm gonna start Jurassic Park. Yeah, I just seen it 1,000 times.
Dude, that movie's so good.
I'm gonna have to bench Inception. The Alien movies never did it for me. I was more of a Predator person.
Once they combined them, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
need.
exactly. Once I saw you threw Alien versus Predator, oh yeah, I'm in. But yeah, Aliens by itself, I just wasn't into it. So I'd have to cut that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Alien Predator franchises are really.
Oh, I know. But that last one was good though.
Prey?
Prey. Yeah, Prey was good. I
Prey was
enjoyed
really
that
good.
one.
I'm encouraged by the new Alien movie coming out. The I have seen not even a teaser, just a 5-second clip.
Mm.
And
I didn't know there was a new one coming out.
yeah, and it's from the guy uh I forget I don't know how to say his first name. It's Alvarez is his last name. He did the Evil Dead remake and don't oh gosh, well, I want to say Don't Blink, but that's not right. The one with the blind guy.
Oh
Kid,
yeah.
it's not Don't Blink.
Yeah,
Quiet
yeah, because
Place?
Don't
no,
something.
no, no, he had the mask when they're like inside his house. Oh, not
Yeah,
the mask, but the blindfold.
the guy
I
did
thought
that.
that was a Quiet Place because
No,
Um,
no. So
uh,
the Quiet Place was like the alien things. This one
don't
was,
breathe. Don't breathe.
yeah, yeah. They were
Yeah.
like inside his house and everything, and they were trying
Yeah,
to get out his house or something. Yeah, or something. Yeah, that was
yeah.
a good
They
movie.
were
That was a
trying to
good movie
rob
too.
him.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Fede Alvarez?
Fede Alvarez.
Fede Alvarez, yeah.
He's done some good movies, so I'm encouraged by that.
Yeah. For me, start Jurassic Park. I would also bench Inception and cut Aliens. But I really love Jurassic Park. Oh, that franchise to me went down with the remakes. That was sad. That last one was just terrible story. Terrible story.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I haven't seen the Chris Pratt ones.
Oh, you
Are
never
they
seen any
bad?
of them?
the
Mm-mm.
worlds.
Yeah.
So I'd
Jurassic
let
World is good, but they get worse.
yeah. So wait, how many have there been of the
There's
just two, right? Or are there three?
I think there are three.
there's three because there's that first one,
I liked the first one,
then there's
disliked.
Dominion,
Okay,
and
then I didn't.
There's the
then
one where they all come back, right?
That's
yeah,
right. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, they that one went downhill. Yeah, by the end, the bugs were the bad thing. Like I was like, wait, what? The bugs are like what we're fighting against? It was bad.
I'm
I got really lost.
I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, I like that one.
I love that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because I really disliked The Lost World. That was a huge disappointment for me. But 3 typically it has a lot of hate, but man, I just that's so much fun.
Yeah, I like all three of those first ones. But yeah, the newest ones, I'm like they need to go ahead and bench those. They need to let that breathe.
Well, they're
Yeah.
not because there's another one coming.
I
Wasn't
saw
there?
that.
I mean, they're doing Lego stuff, and
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
the Camp Creations on Netflix. Yeah, they're not letting that franchise go right now.
Yeah. It's true.
But okay, Brandon Spencer, y'all got any more questions?
I don't think
That's
so.
all.
Okay. Rod, you got anything else?
No, I this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys inviting me, and uh you are melanated, but you're also extraordinary gentlemen. So
Hey,
Thank you.
that's
I
where
like that.
we
thank
kind of
all
got inspiration.
thank you.
Do you want to give a shout out where people can find you and you know where to get your things at?
Yeah. So my website is simple. It's flickattack.com, and at the somewhere on that page there's a book cover you could click to go to Amazon, or you could just go to Amazon and type Flick Attack and my book will pop up, or you could write Flick Attack Movie Arsenal Book 1 if you felt inclined, but it'll get you there. I'm working on book 2 now, and I have other books outside of that series in the process that are all pop culture, nonfiction stuff, but I can't talk about those yet.
Top secret.
Thank you for the invite. This has been a lot of fun.
So
Absolutely.
it's definitely been a great time. You're also on Letterboxd. I see over 2,000 films
And
viewed, 74 this year. So
that is my name there is at Rod Lott, RODLOTT. Yeah, and I follow whoever follows me there, I follow back. So I am on there, and I'm on Instagram at Flick Attack, Facebook Flick Attack, but I'm not. That's I don't use it much.
yeah,
Not on Twitter. That's a garbage fire. I hate that place.
yeah, that's
You're
why
right. That's true.
it's going away. Yeah, they're slowly dying. Not fast enough though.
Yeah, not on TikTok. Never find me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are also not on TikTok. We are also at the age where it's like, nah, I'm good.
Exactly.
So, okay. Well, with that being said, we're never duplicated.
Always appreciate it.
And forever melanated.